Welcome back to SMSF Mates Daily Podcast. This is our general advice warning that we are required to warn you that any advice has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations or needs, and because of that, you should, before acting on the advice, consider the appropriateness of the advice having regard to your own objectives, financial services and needs, and where the advice relates to the acquisition or possible acquisition of a financial product, you should obtain a product disclosure statement, PDS, relating to the product and consider the PDS before making any decision about whether to acquire the product. Now let's get into it.
Welcome back to SMSF Mates Podcast. Today I'm in the studio with Gareth,
Hello.
Ashwin, and my name's Tim, and we're talking about weighing up the benefits of an SMSF compared to a APRA regulated super fund, which is just a regular super fund. So,
right.
Gareth, what you have an SMSF?
I do.
Why do you have
the
one?
big why? Simon Sinek why? Why did I have a self-managed super fund? So I am self-employed, and I have been since I was 18. I started the standard kind of sole trader business, not knowing anything any different. The rules then were that you didn't have to put money in super, so I thought, well, super is 50 years away. I don't care about that. I want money now. I'll spend all my money growing my little business at 18. Didn't think anything of it. And then I think 5 or 6 years later, I think I then started a company because of the long-winded reason why that happened. And then became a director, and then I was a bit older and a bit less green and sort of started taking myself seriously a bit more and thought, I probably need to put some money in my super fund. I had managed to, I think I had a 2-week job at KFC when I was like 15 or something like that. So I had a run-of-the-mill standard, what everybody gets, national super fund, whatever you want to call it, APRA regulated one. So I just started putting money into that. And then, I don't know, maybe another 5 years later, by the time I was about 30, I started getting more interested in finance and investments and stocks and all that sort of stuff. And then I think I was getting really frustrated about I couldn't really control what I wanted to buy in my super fund. And so I went to a financial advisor and said, well, here, this is what I'd like to do. How do I do it? And thinking that was where I went. And that particular person didn't really know anything, in my opinion. They were given a script and they were told to sell me this package, and they did a risk profile on me and I answered 50 questions. And then they said, well, based on your 50 questions, you should have this. And I just thought, nah, I didn't like the idea of that. There was no real thought or consideration for me. It was just they knew that they were going to sell their package, and that was it. And so I started doing some Googling and stumbled across this idea called self-managed super funds, and then started reading about them. I thought, oh, this works for me. I get to control it myself. I can do my own thing, and I started going down the path. And what I really liked about it, 2 things that stuck in my head. One was that I was in control of all of the costs, so there was nothing hidden. I value transparency and honesty, and my head likes to understand how things actually work. I have an engineer as a father, so I kind of have been brought up pulling things apart. So the idea of investing in something where there's hidden fees and brokerage commissions and whatnot, I just generally don't like the idea of that. So I like the idea of the self-managed super fund in that I could buy the software, I could pay for the fees, and I knew that was that cost, and that money went over there. And so that was one thing. And then the other thing that really, I guess, connected with me, whether or not it's an obvious benefit or not, is that you can control when the actual investment is made. So if you put money in your standard super fund, say a non-self-managed super fund, at least my understanding was that you would contribute that money once a quarter when you pay your super. And the investment is just the investment at that point in time. So if the unit price is down and it's the week of COVID and you put all your money in the market that week, then you get it at that price and so on. But in a self-managed super fund, you can put your money in your super fund, and then you decide when you actually want to deploy those funds into said investment. And that's the bit that I think I really liked, because if you get that timing right, you can really change the returns. And obviously you can get it wrong too, but So yeah, they were the main reasons I liked it. One, transparency, and two, it's just you get a bit more control, which is hence the point, self-managed. Yeah, that's my reason.
Yeah. I suppose for me, obviously being an accountant, I was familiar with what's required from an accounting and reporting sort of process. For me, it was more the types of investments that I could do.
Right.
So, the things I couldn't find any funds that you could do it is direct property, which was, I'll speak to in another podcast probably. But the other ones were some unlisted investments. So, what
do you mean by unlisted?
So let's say there's so one of the things I've invested at the moment is a gaming business. So they're building a system for playing games online.
So when you say it's not on the stock market, gotcha.
So it's unlisted, and you can invest in it through the proper channel. So that was one of the things that you'd look at and go, okay, that's not a bad option from my investment point of view. So you don't have those opportunities in some of those.
Yeah, an APRA regulated one.
Yeah, so if you think it's part of your retirement plan, it sits in there. That was the opportunity for me. Was I could see these unlisted opportunities, and I was like, you can buy them outside of super, or you can buy them in super. The advantage of buying in super was, well, is it long term? I'm thinking these are long term startups that hopefully materialize in 10, 15 years. So it takes the weighting of, okay, well, why am I doing it? So for me, it was like, yeah, these are long term investments. I don't really mind if it doesn't become liquid for 10 years because I'm not going to be retired and access the cash in that time frame. So it sits nicely in that window, opposed to if it was outside of super, that money could be used for everyday opportunities and things we want to do. And I couldn't, it didn't line up that way to do that because you'd always look at it going, well, when is that going to materialise? So
makes sense.
Buy a car or whatever it was. So.
How about you, Tim?
Yeah, so my SMSF, I think I set that up originally, it would have been 2017 maybe. And at the time I was working for an investment manager and just doing a lot of investing on my own.
Yeah, okay.
And trading and things like that. And yeah, it was really just very, very simply to sort of be able to, have access, like you said, Ashwin, to more investments, have a lot more control over where your money is and just exercise some discretion.
Right.
Yeah, that's the crux of it for me. I just wanted to,
sounds like a pretty valid reason.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of, I was trading. I thought I could do a pretty good job of it, so I thought I'd have a crack on my own. Yeah. So that
back
was
yourself, right?
Yeah, for better or for worse.
I guess that's the other thing that I've since discovered since getting more involved in my self-managed super fund is that there are an enormous amount of investment opportunities that don't really get advertised, I guess. And one of the things SMSF Mate has on its website under the investment products tab is a whole list of, let's say, not very well advertised, not very well promoted investment opportunities and managed funds and investment trusts and listeners may be familiar with ETFs, but there are a lot more ETFs out there than you may find on some larger, Googled websites. And so if you're interested in seeing what, and it doesn't have to be through an SMSF, there are some rules and regulations, I believe, around eligibility criteria and whatnot. But if you jump on our website, smsfmate.com.au, and click the investment products tab, then you will see a lot more options that are available. And if you're listening to this and you are an investment product manager, that's the right term, then please get in touch. We'd love to talk to you.
I suppose the thing is it's always about that investment strategy, right? So for me, whenever I get caught up, and I do, because you see the spreadsheet and see valuations and you come back and go, well, is that underlyingly part of the long-term plan? And so, there's a couple of investments that might come into cash shortly, and then it's going to rebalance that fund into, okay, I need some stuff that actually brings in regular income instead of going for growth assets.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's multiple people in my fund. So, I've got my parents, me and my wife.
Right.
in there. So you've got to balance. Everyone's sort of laid what they want.
Yeah, so you got one self-managed super fund
with
4 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an interesting benefit.
Yeah. So you can actually have sometimes more. You can have up to more people in there, but you've got to manage everyone's reports and everyone's expectations. Yeah,
individually.
So that's why they're typically family members, and you sit down and make that plan. So mum and dad may retire, and then they want access, or they plan on a retirement fund, or they want to take the cash out. We got to make sure we got liquidity and other things in the business, in the fund. So yeah.
Cool. And good, bad, ugly. What experiences have you had?
Wow. Do you want me to go first? Geez, good, bad, ugly. I think that the ongoing management of a self-managed super fund is definitely not for the faint-hearted, like particularly if you want to do trading yourself. Like, it sounds easy, and you can say, oh, I'll just buy something on my phone and whatever, but that's not really a strategy. So I think you, as Ashwin alluded to, you kind of really need to sit down and dedicate some time to it. And if you're someone that doesn't have perhaps a couple of hours a week or a day a month or something like that, then there is so much information and so many options. And if you just said, oh, well, I want to buy stocks on the Australian Stock Exchange, there's hundreds, if not thousands of options, and each one comes with pages and pages and pages and pages of information to read and digest, and annual reports, and then notifications about dividends and buyouts and there's a lot of information. And if you don't have a head for that, then it's not, or an interest even, it's a big deal. So I think, you need to be really conscious of that, or I was really conscious of that. And then the other thing, I guess I've had some really positive success, particularly with the timing. I mentioned earlier that one of the main benefits I saw was that you could execute investments according to timing. So I was really lucky that I sold out of a couple of funds just before COVID, and then sat on the cash, and then waited till the market kind of went down a bit, and down a bit more, and down a bit more, and then put in some really sort of cheeky low buy orders, and they all executed through COVID. So I was able to make 10-15% on my investments just by being able to manage the timing. And of course, there's a bit of luck in there. There's a bit of market opportunity, and there was a bit of me kind of having a bit of a punt at it at the same time. So that has worked. That's the good bit.
Yeah.
But if I'm not watching and I wasn't interested, and the market dropped and I wasn't paying attention, then it would be a reverse story. So I think there's pros and cons.
I think the self-managed is like we've probably said in a few podcasts. It's those two words, right? You're managing yourself, but it doesn't mean you don't engage third parties. So if there's particular investments in property, you'd get property specialists. If there's retirement planning or things like that, you'd engage a financial advisor to look at it from you. Insurances, all those sort of things. It's important to actually see the right people before you go down the path, because you want to be in this. I want to be in a self-managed super fund for the foreseeable future, right? So I'm talking 10 plus years. I don't want to be changing this structure just because of an opportunity to buy one unlisted opportunity or one property, because there's other things out there, like Gareth mentioned. The website's got lots of opportunities for other investments, but that's just what we've got access or information about. There's lots out there, so that's where advisors are good. And I think the thing that sort of changes, I think Gareth's experience with a bad experience with an advisor is you can go around.
Absolutely.
Shop around, meet them, make sure they line up, and ask them, the deep questions. So I think that's the important part, is advisors are still required throughout your super fund journey. Don't get caught going, this is just me. I think that's something that I kind of have taken a while to learn, is that even though it is a self-managed super fund, you can still pay people to advise you. You don't have to do it all on your own. Yeah. Well, you pay your accountant to do the books, but you can also pay an advisor for, is this investment mix right for me? And that's when they look at your goals and all the rest of it around it and go, well, actually, you've had really good years. You don't need to take so many risks anymore. And you're like, okay, what are the alternatives? And then you can start navigating through. Or, Gareth wants to live large, and a few more risks have to be taken, or more money has to come into super, or you got to cut a little bit more spending out of personal life, and that's the feedback I appreciate is with a independent party questioning that sort of things.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm still on track. Now you don't. How often you want to do it is dependent on the trustees, but for me, it's I need that checkpoint once in a while.
Tim, good, bad, and uglies.
I think, well, just on that whole advice piece, I think on a previous podcast we spoke about insurance within super and how valuable that having an advisor is with regards to insurance. Just in terms of, do they pay out easily, or are they one that's problematic, or are you covered for this or that? Like, that really clicked for me. So it's kind of like you're just getting someone who knows a lot about a particular subject, whether it be insurance or investments, and you're going to get a better result.
Yeah.
I feel, and I think in investing personally, in trading, like it's very tricky at the best of times, and professionals also have a very hard time of it from time to time. But having someone watch over you and give you some pointers, I think can be quite valuable.
Yep.
Because if you're left to your own devices, there's a lot of things that we might do wrong that you don't know
what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you hope advisors would pass on knowledge to you or learnings that you should look into.
And I think I've always considered the market as a big game, and there's lots of players on one side that can control things that I can't control, and move meters and needles and write blog posts and bits of news that are completely false. And I think was it 2021 last year? End of the year, whole heap of pretty well-known brands did ridiculously huge return. And then they've all halved.
Oh, there's corrections. All the way. I'm sure the funds will show similar things as well. I suppose for me, I'm less, and I was just thinking about what Gareth said about the timing. The timing sort of ranks lower on my scale of things when I look at things, because it's more the underlying asset. I don't like heavy transaction costs.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
that's a pro in itself of having you don't have to do it that way. You can
And I can see some people that do trade regularly or futures or other products out there. And for me, underlying assets returning, and I think it's the mix of the people in my fund. So because it's family members at different retirement points or age points, it's about managing that appropriately.
Managizing, that sounds like a good word.
Yeah,
Quite like that word. Managizing.com.
Yeah. I'll put that on my title. Managizing director.
Managizing, yeah, nice.
Thanks for joining us on the SMSF Mate podcast. If you'd like to learn more about SMSF Mate, go to our website, smsfmate.com.au. Check out our socials. We're on Spotify and YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Cool.